Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal Than Normal. I am your host, as always, Jeremy, here trying to, make this world seem a little more normal. Does it ever fucking happen? No. Some things are impossible even for a great man like me. Some things are impossible. But as always, I bring a guest to try to help me with this, and my guest tonight is a podcaster, a screenwriter, and so much, much more. But we'll get into all that in a little bit. Kirsten Rudberg, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay!
How's it going, Kirsten?
Good. How are you? It's the end of my day, and I'm so glad to not be at work. So, how's that?
I'll second that emotion on her, and I'll fucking slam stamp on it like shit. I shouldn't even be at week. I shouldn't even have to work this week. There's nothing going on. Everybody's on vacation.
Seriously, yeah.
But I'll take. I mean, if you want to give me off from my a paid couple days off, I'm good with that. But besides that, yeah, no. I mean, I'll take my $20 an hour. Be good with it. But first things first, though, I gotta always ask this question because it opens the door for so many wormholes. What got you into the paranormal spiritual world, Kirsten?
Oh gosh, wouldn't you like to know? No, I'm just kidding.
I would.
You're asking the question. So I have always been intrigued by anything that is considered supra-normal. And I have always loved science since I was a kid. I've read science magazines since I was about 13, 14. I grew up overseas in Guyana, South America, and then Lahore, Pakistan. And I saw so much of the world, different art, different architecture, food, the ways people worshiped, the ways they talked to God. But not only that, I read stories from all those cultures as well. And so that kind of also led me to loving fairy tales, folk tales, myth, stories of kind of fairies and goblins and all sorts of magical witches that live in the forest from all over the world also. So I had this love of folktale and myth, fairy, fantasy, all of these things combined with my love of science. And so when I came back to the States and I got older, I kind of thought to myself, how can these two things kind of go together? And then, of course, quantum physics, they're proving the quantum field connects everything, that we're all connected. And I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, some of these things that people say they see, like Bigfoot. I've had a couple people on my own podcast who've seen Bigfoot, or I've had a couple people talk about having close encounters of the fifth kind, where they kind of have a relationship with an alien race or whatever. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what if these things are just, different dimensions? Just dimensions that we can't access because we don't have language yet, or we don't have the capacity to imagine that large to understand that it's possible and really normal. And so I kind of play in this realm of spirituality and art and folktale and myth and fantasy. All the stories that my guests tell me on the podcast about ghosts, about seeing things that aren't there. And I bring it all together with my scientific background. And I kind of think that within the next 25 to 50 years, all of these things that we think are paranormal or weird or inexplicable or impossible, we're going to start to understand that it's just science that we don't understand yet.
My God, we are two peas in a fucking pod. Oh my God. I will say that. But see, I'm the same as you. Paranormal on one side, science to mine on the other, just trying to make it all mesh and make fucking sense, which doesn't happen often. But I absolutely love that whole sentiment. I fucking love it. Yeah, I haven't got enough Bigfoot freaking saying people on this show, and it pisses me off after 2 episodes. Just does. But
they're out there.
I'm in groups. Just a lot of them don't want to speak on podcasts about what they've seen.
Oh, okay.
So it's a whole. Yeah, I mean, being honest, I haven't tried hard enough, probably. I probably could reach out a lot more and try, but it's just I'm already booked out to August. I get enough guests, so I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna beg. I'm not gonna go beg for someone to be on my show when they don't want to be. That ain't
right.
my that ain't my prerogative, as Bob Brown would say, before he did horrible things. But have you had any experience yourself? That'd be the next question.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I
Ooh.
mean, I think, there are so many different kinds of experiences, right? I mean, as is evidenced by the people that have been on my show, ghosts. I interviewed a woman once who she and her youth group were lost in the woods. They went on a hike, were lost, kept going in circles, and were overdue by like 3 or 4 hours from when they were supposed to be back. And she said they finally just stopped. And she said she just prayed for all of them versus just herself for the first time. And all of a sudden, this figure she noticed appeared next to her and just beckoned and said towards this trail. And so she thought, oh my gosh, did anybody else see that? And no one else had seen it. But she said, I think this is the trail we go down to. And they said, we've already done that one. She said, no, but I really feel strongly about this. And an hour later, they found themselves on a road where they got a ride back. They had crossed state lines, if you can believe it. And it took like an hour and a half to get back to the camp where they were supposed to be. That's just, one example of someone else, all the different kinds of things that people have experienced. I have had so many strange experiences that I can't like explain them all. I mean, one example is I was having a dream one night and I was floating out into the void, and they would call this a classic noetic experience. And all of these things that have happened to me, I think have happened in my life so that I could open up to the idea that there's a lot more going on in this reality than we have adequate words for or that we can imagine. And so I was floating out in the universe. I was looking at the entire universe and it was so beautiful. It was just black with all these stars, and there was that faint hum, that space hum that you can hear. And I was just thinking, my God, this is the most beautiful thing I've seen. And then this figure came on and said, oh, you think this is real? This is what's real. And it reached down and pulled the universe back like a curtain. And behind it was, I mean, there are no words for what was behind it, but, I can use the word love. Behind it was like everything. It was love. It was beyond love. It was like the root of everything that has ever been and that will ever be. And I woke up because it was so strong and so shocking. And my entire room was filled with that energy. And I remember getting up in the morning and thinking, I'm so bummed I have to go to work because I know when I get home, that energy is not going to be here anymore. And yes, when I got home, it was gone. But that's just one example. Another example is, I get told messages all the time. And my dear friend died, my friend Linda. This is the crazy story of how I ended up walking the Camino, which I'm not religious, so I would never do something like that. My dear friend, I had spent time with her in Florida. She got deep brain stimulation surgery. So I lived with her for a couple months and helped her through that. But then the next year she died. And a couple years after that, I went to this feast day in Portland where the woman sitting next to me was a carbon copy of my friend who died. And afterwards we were standing around talking. And she said, she was a Presbyterian minister. And she said, oh, I'm going to start walking the Camino in February. And I thought, I don't even know what that is. What is that? And she said, oh, it's this pilgrimage route to walk to Santiago in Spain. And there's 12 different ways, and pilgrims have been doing it for thousands of years, and it's really beautiful. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I really can't get over how you look exactly like my friend, but yeah, that walk sounds interesting. And so I talked to my boyfriend at the time, and so he bought me a couple pamphlets or brochures so I could just see a little bit more what the Camino was like. And I thought, oh yeah, that's, I'm not religious, or Catholic. Why would I ever do this? And I don't do things like this. Like, this is hiking for hundreds of miles, and it seems a little crazy pants and stupid. And I'm not going to do that.
Sounds like hell.
Yes. Hell on earth. And so a couple months later, a friend called me and she said, I just saw this movie and it's really good. And I feel like I should send it to you. So this is the days of DVDs. So I'm dating myself. So she mails it to me and I open it, and it's this movie called The Way with Martin Sheen and Emilio Estevez. And it's about walking the Camino de Santiago. And I thought, why did you send this to me? And she said, I don't know. I felt like I was supposed to. And I said, okay. And I thought, I guess, I mean, now I know what it's like. I can actually see people walking, and now I get the gist of it or whatever. But whatever, again. And then a few months later, my acupuncturist just said, oh my gosh, my mom is just walking the Camino and she broke her ankle. And I thought, okay, do I live under a rock? Does everybody know about this except me? Your mom knows? I feel like a complete loser. And he's like, yeah, she walked 300 miles and she broke her ankle, so she has to quit. And I thought, good God, is everybody doing this? And so I just filed it away again. And then 5 months later, another dear friend called, and she'd been packing up her mother's study in Kansas. Her mom was a pack rat. Her mom was moved into an Alzheimer's care unit, so she was going through every piece of paper in case it was important. And she called laughing on the phone, and she said, okay, you're not going to believe this, but I just feel compelled to send you this brochure from Kansas. I was in Oregon at the time. And she's like, I need to mail this to you. And she's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but you're going to be getting something in the mail for me in a few days. And I thought, great. Okay. I love getting mail. That's wonderful. And I open the envelope when I get it. It's a travel guide for the Camino from the 1960s that she'd found in her mother's study, buried. And I thought to myself, what the F is going on? What is happening? So whenever I get confused about life and what's happening, I always pull a tarot card. So I pulled a tarot card, and the card that came up said, you have not been listening to the messages that we've been sending. And I thought to myself, I sat on my bed and I looked up at the sky and I thought, you've got to be effing kidding me that you want me to walk the Camino. Are you joking right now? Okay, I don't do this. I'm not religious. I have a job. Why would I leave my job? Why would I leave my house, my animals, all of this? But you're joking. You want me to walk the Camino. None of this makes any sense. Everybody's going to think I've gone off on some crazy train somewhere. And so it took me a few weeks. I thought about it and mulled it over. And then finally I thought, you know what? I mean, everything that's happened with all these messages about walking the Camino, it started to feel like something that I'd already done anyway in another lifetime. And I realized that it was an invitation and I could do it or not do it. But the second I decided to do it, every single roadblock that was in the way of me doing it just like blew away. And I could suddenly do it with no problems. Everything was facilitated. And so, yeah, so I get a lot of messages like that. And I always tell people it's because I'm stubborn, thick-skulled, and I whine a lot. And the universe or God knows that I'm a whiner and is like, the only way we'll get through to this one is by nagging her to death.
See, your stories brings to mind an old adage of mine on this show for 200-something episodes. Synchronization exists for a reason. There's synchronicity in everything in this life. And when we're supposed to do something, everything in this fucking universe is going to push us towards it, whether we want to or not. And I mean, it's just as annoying as it can be. And I can't say I have any direct examples in my own life because I've always just kind of wanted to do things I did. I never had any signs from anybody tell me to do it. And sorry, buddy. What's up, Matt? Glad to have you stopping by. Prepare post for life. But I mean, to go on a walk, and apparently there's a tour group called Walk the Camino nowadays. I just Googled it to get the right spelling. But apparently there's a tour group called Walk the Camino, and it's a thing now. So, I mean, would I ever do it? I fucking hate hiking with a passion. With a stone cold passion. So the nature and the woods are not my friend, they're my enemies. So no, I would not do it. I'd have to be literally forced by the universe to do it. And no, that's not a test, you fucking idiots. Don't test me. But it's no, I couldn't see myself doing that ever. Like, I hate going on a freaking mile hike with my kids. Like, that's torture to me. That's pure simple. Put my freaking hands in handcuffs and force me torture. But yeah, I mean, if the universe is pushing you to do something, you gotta do it. I mean, it's just there are reasons for these things. And did anything come of it? Did any lessons come of it? Did any signs come of it of what it meant, what it was supposed to represent?
Oh, yeah. I mean, actually, it's interesting. So, years before I had, this is going to date me so much, I'd gone to the local New Age bookstore in Portland and rented a CD. CD. That's how old I am. And it said, Meet Your Spirit Guides. And so, I went home, toyed with it a little bit, listened to it a few times. And this spirit guide came that was a deer, a stag dressed in a business suit. And I thought to myself, that's odd. I mean, isn't it supposed to be like a human or whatever? But no, what? Were you going to ask me a question?
I was gonna say, what is this, BoJack Horseman?
I know. Seriously. I was so confused. And I asked it, I said, what's your name? And it basically said, my name starts with A, but you can't pronounce it. And I thought, okay, I mean, fair. I thought that was really fascinating. And I didn't think any more about it. I was like, of course I would do this. And a deer in a business suit would show up. So I walked the Camino and I ended up, getting not quite to Santiago, but along the Spanish coast. I got profoundly dehydrated. And I had that moment. I was climbing up the side of this Spanish cliff and had the complete moment where you break. And I just howled into the wilderness. I mean, I just screamed out because I'd stopped going to the bathroom about 3 days before. I don't think I understood how sick and screwed up my body was. And I had just had it. It was so hot. The day was terrible. And the cliffs are no joke going up and down with a backpack. And I was alone most of the time. So I had that moment and I decided, you know what? I've done it. I've done what I came here to do. I had my moment. I feel like I'm done. Like I'm done walking the Camino. So I took a ferry to England and I decided to spend 3 weeks in Cornwall before I took the Queen Mary back to New York. And so I was in Cornwall in Tintagel, which is known as King
Hold
Arthur.
up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you afraid of flying or something?
Yeah. I hate flying.
Ah, okay. I'm like, you could have took a plane back and got back in
Yes.
like a fucking eighth of the time.
I know. But I also love that mode of travel at the same time. Like I hate flying, but there's just something about walking into it was first of all the same price at that time, taking the ship versus flying. And there's something about walking into the stateroom and there's a bottle of champagne and a big plush robe and they give you breakfast in bed. And it allowed me to have no jet lag. And so I loved that. And they had high tea every day, which no one can beat that. And the Blue Man Group. So yeah. So anyway, I get to Tintagel, King Arthur's birthplace in Cornwall. And I decide one day to walk to this place called St. Nectan's Glen. And it's this old ancient pagan site that it has been renamed because a friar or a priest came and took it over. And of course, now you have to pay to go, but its pagan roots run really deep. And so I started really, really early. It was about 2 miles away. So I start walking. And as I'm walking across the fields, it descends into woods. And then I'm on this path in the woods with this creek that's near, or a stream right near me. I go down, I go into St. Nectan's Glen, which is this hyper potent place with, it's the energy there is so intense. People's prayers are there. There's ribbons, there's coins everywhere. It still has a really intense energy of the thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of prayers that have already been put there. And, I was done with the Camino. I know this was like my time to rest. And just before I came back to the States and I left St. Nectan's Glen and I was walking along the path back. And again, nobody's walking because it's so early. And all of a sudden I just got this message, sit down or don't go any further, sit down. And I thought, okay, why? But instead, after whining a little bit, I went down and I found this log next to the stream and I sat there for like 30 seconds and I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. This is so bonkers. I'm an idiot. And then I look across the stream into the woods directly across from me. And out of nowhere, I swear it was like it just materialized. This baby deer walks out of the woods. No other deer anywhere else. No mom deer, no other baby deers. This single deer, excuse me, walks out of the woods. And it just stood there and it looked at me and it like acknowledged me. And then it just melted back into the woods. And I thought to myself, okay, what just happened? Like the scientific part of my brain was like, okay, where are the other deer? Babies that small should not be alone. Where's the mom deer? Like there's not a lot of cover. I don't even know where that deer came from. I don't understand what's happening. So I kind of left the stream and continued my walk and didn't kind of was mulling it over and trying to figure it out. And then I remembered this vision that I'd have of my, my higher being or my spiritual advisor, my guardian angel that I'd reached out to was this deer in this business suit. All of a sudden I was just gobsmacked. And I realized at that moment that when I had looked up and seen the deer, that was that energy, God or creator or whatever you want to say, my guardian angel seeing me and saying, good job. You did what we asked you to do, which was walk the Camino. And this is just us coming and acknowledging that. And you need to understand that we see what you've done. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a good story for you, but yes.
Oh, that's incredible. It's really incredible. I mean, and as somebody who was a big fan of the old King Arthur lore, what do you think about the King Arthur lore? Do you think there's reality behind it, or do you think it's just pure fiction?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think what's really interesting is at Tintagel, they found a stone. I don't know if you know about this, a stone with carved letters on it that indicate that someone, I can't remember the name, but it's a derivative of Arthur. So buried under the foundations of the castle or the church or that incredible building, they've literally found a derivative of Arthur there. So 100%, I believe that there was a King Arthur. I absolutely do. Now, I also have to say that Tintagel itself and the woods and the land around it are, I don't know, spooky, inhabited, powerful. Like there's something going on there that's a little otherworldly. And it seems like a place of super saturated energy, something really intense. At least it was for me. I mean, it was beautiful too. It's on the ocean. You're looking at cliffs down to the sea. The castle's like right on the edge and straddles the edge. I mean, it's magnificent. The whole area is magnificent. But 100%, I think Arthur is real. I think that he was a king. I would love for all the stories to be real. And, I think someone even proved that Merlin existed or a Welsh magician with his name existed. So yes, I'm 2 thumbs up on that.
They did prove to some degree that Merlin could have been a real person. I mean, there are magics in this world we never knew, and there's magics in this world that still exists to this day that people know how to use. So, could Merlin have just been a clairvoyant or psychic that had extrasensory abilities? 150%. But, and hello Harley, thank you for watching as always. But I want to believe King Arthur existed. I do, and that part of me always will. I've heard a lot of evidence otherwise, unfortunately, and I mean, I believe to this day that he did, because there are certain things that there isn't this many stories written about you if you weren't some kind of real person. There was no Harry Potters back then. There was no Lord of the Rings. there was no fiction written back then, really, besides ghost stories, basically. So, I mean, you there probably was a King Arthur. I mean, Arthur's a common British name. There probably was a king named Arthur. Was he as majestic and as amazing as the lore foretells? Who knows? Who knows? I ain't gonna question it. I think Arthur was a real person, and I think he's a good person that men should model themselves after. That should be required reading for every young man in middle school, high school. That should be life lessons right there. But that's my personal opinion, and it gets me nowhere in this world. So but I mean, I gotta ask though, when you're in this forest in good old Britain, were there any signs of anything on the more different ultra terrestrial realm? Fairies, gnomes, elementals, anything like that?
I wish. No. I mean, I did see that deer, but it was really odd and interesting. As I was descending into the forest and walking towards St. Nectan's Glen, I'm walking, the stream is normal, and then all of a sudden I came to this like cairn of stones that was built in the middle of the stream, and I thought, oh, that's odd. Huh.
There was an assassin there.
Maybe. And then I walked a little further and there was another one, and then another one, and another one. And I thought, okay, someone's been busy here. I don't know who it is or what their intention was, but the woods itself felt otherworldly. And also St. Nectan's Glen, like descending down into where there was a waterfall and there were trees with all these prayer ribbons tied on it and coins and for like sadnesses and sorrows left behind. It was like going down into this thick, foggy soup. And I thought, what's the energy down here? And it was just so thick. And it was after I left and kind of got out of it that I realized, oh my God, it's so concentrated and potent here because of the 1,000 years of worship. The energy, the land has just kind of absorbed it all. And so, yeah, no fairies, no elementals, alas. But I definitely got the experience of how the land can resonate with the energy that humans have created over millennia.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I guess, the right word would be stored energy in a lot of lands throughout this world, and King Arthur was something mystical and magical, so
absolutely
there would be stored energy. There would 100% be stored energy there, and it's on my bucket list. I didn't know it existed till tonight, but it's on my fucking bucket list now. God damn it, because I love King Arthur lore. I do. Guinevere and Merlin and the Green Knight and all this shit. Like, I freaking love it. Like, it's kind of a sad story at the end of the day, but it's
so
course,
sad. It's so sad. Like the story of King Arthur, I think, is so sad.
Plus, I love the fact that his sister Morgan Le Fay was used in Marvel Comics, so I love that. But well, let me ask this though, because I mean, how often do you get signs from the universe that you're supposed to do certain things? Like, is it a common thing, or is it just occasionally?
Okay, so my friends, my dear friends who know me really well are like, oh my God, what is it with you? Like, you never have to wonder where you're going or what you're doing because the universe just tells you. It just tells you like over and over. And they kind of laugh about it while they also shake their heads and think, your life is weird. Like, your life is so weird. So for example, I mean, I told you about walking the Camino. After I came back from the Camino, I decided to go to seminary and get my Master's of Divinity. And there were a bunch of different ones I was looking at all over the country. And I'm not religious. I'm a panentheist, which means that I believe everything's sacred and everything should be respected and worshiped as being legitimate. But I was looking at seminaries all over. And for about 3 or 4 months at my job, every person I met who was new, every single one was from Denver. And after a few times, I was like, that's weird. Let's see if this continues. Denver, Denver, Denver. And one of the seminaries I was looking at was in Denver. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to apply anywhere else because I already know I'm going to seminary in Denver because every sign is like Denver. And so I didn't apply anywhere else. I only applied to that one because I already knew I was going to get in because I'd already been told because of all the synchronicity of Denver. And then, I mean, here's another example. It's so bizarre. I need to practice my public speaking, which is partially why I'm on Podmatch and being on podcasts. But I was giving sermons at my friend's Methodist church in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is where I lived. And the second time I went back to give a sermon, which public speaking scares me to death so badly that I was really doing it so that I could not be scared anymore. This elderly man came up to me and he said, I have to tell you something. And I said, okay. And a lot of people have been giving me feedback on the sermon. And he said, no. This is just for you. I have to tell you. So let's go over here. So we walked a few steps away and he said, and this was my second time. And I was also leaving in a week to drive back to Illinois to take care of my mother, or to help both my parents, but really take care of my mom who's having a hard time. I was leaving my job, my friends, my community, everything, giving up everything to go help my mom and spend some time with my dad, whose dementia was getting worse. And I was really upset and angry and depressed about leaving my life and thinking, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't believe I'm going back and giving everything up. I mean, I was just emotionally exhausted at that point. And he didn't know any of this. I hadn't told anybody any of this. And he said, I have to tell you something. So he takes me over to the side and he says, okay, I am so glad you came back to speak here again. I can't even tell you because the first time you gave a sermon, I didn't tell you what I was supposed to tell you. And I went home that night and the Holy Spirit was just like poking me and prodding me and saying, why didn't you tell her what we told you to tell her? Like, what is wrong with you? We're so unhappy. And so he said, now here you are. Now I can tell you. And he basically started off by saying, the Holy Spirit wants me to tell you, you think that you're going in the wrong direction for your life, but this is exactly where you're supposed to be going. The journey that you're taking now is where you're supposed to be heading. And it just went on from there and talked about the work that I'm doing in the world and that, which he didn't know anything about, my podcast, my screenwriting, all of that, that everything's being seen and noticed and that I'm doing all the right things. And I just, after he got done, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, what just happened here? I don't know what's going on, but it happened again. And this is the third time this has happened to me, that some stranger has come up to me and said, I'm supposed to tell you something. And every time it's changed my life. So yeah, this happens to me regularly.
See, the things that I wish would happen in my life to let me know I'm doing the right fucking things never happen. And hey, Meredith. Wow.
Hey, Meredith.
Talk about surprise. Glad to see you. Glad to have you checking me out. My podcast out finally. But I mean, I never get the fucking signs that shit is supposed to be happening. And it pisses me off to no end because like I mean, I don't know if it's a sobriety thing or not. I mean, I don't know. Like, but it's just I'm always too stressed out thing to really see the signs. 100% could be that. But I mean, yeah. 2 kids, third on the way.
You're like busy, right? You're busy. You're like raising kids and like working and doing all of these things. But I mean, and you and I talked about synchronicity earlier in this show. So you must have had some synchronistic things happen in your life.
I mean, things tend to work out when if we need money for an upcoming family court battle, which we do, it tends to kind of fall in my lap magically. Okay. From some source, I don't I'll know where it comes from, but I just don't why the times line up. I never could fucking say. So it's just, I mean, I'm grateful for it. I'm thankful for it, but it just doesn't make sense per se. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't get the. I mean, I actually was told on a podcast 2 weeks ago or so that my spirit guide's name is Anthony because I straight up had a
Oh,
medium Tony. Yeah, I straight up had a medium tell me like, "Do you know an Anthony?" I'm like, "No, not anymore. 20 years ago, maybe." And she's like, "Well, that must be your spirit guide then, because he's trying to get in touch with you." I'm like, "Oh, well, he needs to try a little harder because I've been trying and he ain't communicating." But I mean, it's just the universe doesn't seem to want to communicate with me. Either I'm doing everything they want me to do already and they just got nothing to say.
well, I was going to say,
But I
don't
mean,
you think it's communicating with you through the money at the very least?
it
Do you know
doesn't
what I'm
always
saying?
it doesn't always happen. It comes out of my own pocket a lot of times, and it's just, I mean, it happens sometimes, but I mean, I always know I'm gonna find a way through shit. I have no doubt in that. I'm not religious in any fucking way, but I know I hate organized religion with a goddamn passion. But
Yeah.
I believe in the universe working in the way it's supposed to work,
Yeah.
and if you're defending your kids against a horrible, 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 horrible person,
Yeah.
I believe that things will work out your way.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. I mean, there are signs. I mean, Meredith, right there, that's a sign. When you guys buried your parents, you said your sister saw seagulls in a certain form fly over, and she could also see your mother standing on the hill watching us say, "Good job, great job, girls," and stuff like that does happen. There are signs every day of life in this world, but I just don't. I just tend not to get these signs from the universe saying I'm doing things right. I mean, I feel like there's synchronicities happening. I feel like the universe is telling me shit sometimes, but I don't get the signs. Like it's not clear as day like it was for you, like where everything's pointing in one direction. For me, it's just like nothing. Like I'm just gonna go by my best instinct and hope it all works out at the end of the day, you know? But
Yeah.
it's just the way life goes sometimes, and maybe someday they'll be more connected. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but maybe someday they'll be more connected. But I don't know. I think certain stresses need to be in my life first, and then it'll all work out. But
Yeah.
that's let's just say that's not as easy as it seems. But by no means, by no means. But to keep this on a more pleasant note, you said you've had a lot of stories about Bigfoot in your podcast. So I gotta ask, what are you okay, and before I go on, I keep forgetting to say this. You I as soon as I saw you tonight, there was someone that I recognized immediately, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that looks exactly like her." Have you ever actually seen Nancy Cartwright, the woman who voices Bart Simpson?
No.
You look so much like her.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'll have
just
to look her up.
I've been she posts reels on Facebook all the time if you
Okay.
have come across them, but you look like you look like her when she like 20 years ago, but still,
Oh,
I
cool.
mean, but I mean, it's just so. What are your thoughts on Bigfoot? Since you have stories about it on your podcast all the time, and I mean, I look for. I swear to God, I was just at Dinosaur Footprints Park in Holyoke, Massachusetts this last weekend, and I
Whoa.
swear to God, I swear to God, in the middle of all these actual dinosaur footprints in the stone, there was like a humanish footprint in the stone, and I'm like, what am I looking at here? I took a picture of it and everything. I got a picture of my phone and everything. I'm like, is this actually proving that humans were? I'm like, I doubt any human came here and cut a hole the exact size of their foot into the fucking stone. I doubt it. I doubt it. Who would waste their time? But I mean, were there humans around when dinosaurs were around? Were there Bigfoots? I don't. I mean, it doesn't. It looks more like a shoe print than
Mhm.
anything, which I don't. I mean, not like a shoe like a shoe pattern, but like
Yeah.
the shoe shape. There's no
Right.
toes, which I don't. I'm like, so what the hell kind of dinosaur did this? Or I'm like, what is this? Like I'm standing there looking at it like my paranormal mind is at a freaking standstill right now. What the fuck? Like I don't understand for life me
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here. I'm like, what is this telling me? And I took a picture of it because I got posted to a few groups and get some answers or some speculation at best. But so tell me, what are your theories on Bigfoot? I'm dying to know.
Well, I mean, I have had a couple of guests. And so one of them is an artist in Santa Fe. He's very down to earth, very grounded, not, a storyteller or, I mean, I would never think that he would make this up. And, this is the story that he chose to tell. He told two stories, almost like not that Bigfoot is haunting him, but that, we had the initial experience and then after that, it's like it opened him to another experience. And so just he was hiking one day in Washington State and was up on a big boulder, like up overlooking this like river and these woods. And all of a sudden, he was up quite high. He saw this, what looked like a really giant, hairy human/monkey come out of the woods and come down to the water. And he said, he knew how tall the boulder was that was next to it. So he thought, oh my God, that whatever that is like 9-10 feet tall because that boulder. And I think he disturbed a rock and whatever it was like jumped back into the woods. And for a long time he thought, I don't know what that was. I mean, it has to be Bigfoot because of everything that, we talk about in our society, in our culture. And then a few years later, he was driving and ahead of the car on this kind of isolated, empty little road, 2-lane road, a whole flock of sheep like ran out of the woods in the front of his car. And he thought, oh my God, he slammed on the brakes, went past the sheep, looked in his rear view mirror, and there was something coming out of the woods chasing the sheep. And it looked like a big, giant 7 or 8 foot tall, furry hominid. And he said he like looked away for a second, looked back, and it was still there, but then it kind of like disappeared, like melted away. And, he and I talked about it, and I said, that's really interesting. It's like that last experience, that second experience, it's like almost like Bigfoot for a few seconds accidentally stepped into our dimension, kind of like the dimension or the veils between our worlds got thin and Bigfoot could like step through, be seen, and then he melted back in to his own dimension or his own reality. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Oh, it actually makes 100% sense. So one of the most popular Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, theories. I mean, well, I feel like this is not the first example I've had of Bigfoot chasing sheep. I feel like it's not the first example I've heard. But, I mean, I like some tripe, so I ain't gonna blame them. But, or her. I'm not gonna be sexist toward Bigfoot. But, there's one of the biggest theories out there, besides the Gigantopithecus theory, that means that Bigfoot has been on our planet longer than we have. But the other theory is that they're ultra-terrestrial and they come from different dimensions. I mean, they could be extraterrestrial as well. That's less likely. Maybe. I don't freaking know. But ultra-terrestrial makes more sense because that will explain why they mess with electronics. That would explain why they come when they're seen, and then they're not seen. That would. There are a lot of theories for Bigfoot, and I actually just had a guest. I don't know if she was talking about. Well, I had a guest tell me on a show about a month or two ago. Leslie and Stephen Shaw. I don't know if you heard of them, but they're famous for alien abductee experiences. Okay. But she told me like that she knew a scientist in California who recently was testing urine in a lake, and she was doing this regularly to identify when animals are in the area. Mm-hmm. And 99.9% of the animals that showed up in the test, they knew about. They could tell by the urine what it was. Certain examples came up for a primate that is not known to American wildlife.
Wow.
And the same scientist also has some hair samples that don't give any results for what it is. So we are basically on the verge of Bigfoot being proven as real.
Yeah.
I'm famous in this show for saying, wait for the next pandemic, and that'll be what the government announces is real, and that they've known for 100 and 200 years, and they just don't say anything about it. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt wrote about a freaking Bigfoot sighting in his journal. So
I didn't know that.
it's
That's fascinating.
he didn't call it a Bigfoot by name. It was a hairy man, but still, Bigfoot wasn't. It didn't have the name Bigfoot by that point yet. But I mean, Teddy Roosevelt wrote about it. Native Americans dealt with it for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
We traded with a hairy tribe of men from the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, these hairy men from the mountains in different parts of the United States. Oh, they came down and took our women and children and ate them. I mean, are there predator Bigfoots out there? Who the hell knows? I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the ones in Alaska don't seem to like people, but it's just, I am 100% believer in Bigfoot. I have been since I was a young child, because an unknown species that we have yet to truly discover that's good at hiding. Oh, gee, yeah, no, that's not possible. But I mean, and the amount of hunters that have shot a Bigfoot, and then they go back for the body next day, and it's gone. I mean, the ultra-terrestrial. I was the biggest proponent of, or opponent of, the ultra-terrestrial theory for a long time. I was like, no, it's flesh and bone. It's been here since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Look at Enkidu and the Gilgamesh stories. Fuck. Yeah. But I mean, now the more I talk to people about it, the more I hear all these different ultra-terrestrial theories. It was like, shit, I might have been wrong. Like, it's just one of those eat shit moments. Like, you're like, oh, fucking wrong. God damn it. Like, it just makes more sense than anything in the world that Bigfoot is ultra-terrestrial. That's why we always see it for glimpses. I mean, yeah, there might be some that are living on this planet full time, because there are ones in certain areas and certain properties that have been seen for generations. So maybe some of them like it here. I don't know why, but maybe some of them do. I mean, I personally don't like it on this planet, but some of them might like it here. I don't freaking know why. But kind of makes me want to ask about this though. What do you think about the theory of dogmen?
Oh gosh, I don't know anything about that. What is that?
Oh my God. Goal of mine. Thank you. Dogmen is slowly becoming the new Bigfoot but basically, I have a lot of different episodes discussing dogmen on my show, so I'm not going to go too deep dive into it, but it's basically a Bigfoot, but more like a dog. And there are two types known to that are been described by humans. One they all run on 2 legs or 4 legs, depending on what they want to do. And they're not like werewolves. They don't change back and forth between humans and dogmen. They're just dogmen for all their lives. It's believed that maybe Enkidu and Gilgamesh, maybe that's what they're describing. Not a Bigfoot, but a dogman. And I mean, look at Anubis, the Egyptian god. What does it look like? Oh, a dog and a man put together. Oh, a dogman. And I mean, could they be ultra-terrestrial too? 150 fucking %.
Yeah.
They could be. Excuse me. But they've been seen by so many people. There's an organization, the NADP North. I don't know what that's going on. No say.
Bless you.
Thank you. The North American Dogman Patrol. I wish what the P stands for, but North American Dogman NADP. There's a site where they have all these sightings of dogmen across the United States and Canada. It's creepy. If you look at the map and read the stories, it's a little creepy. But
are they like werewolves, sort of?
No, because they do not change on full moon. A silver bullet will not do anything but piss them the fuck off. Okay. And I mean, there's a lot of famous ones. The Beast of Bray Road, the
Oh.
idea of the idea of Rougarous from New Orleans,
Mhm.
um, the Michigan dogman, the Beast of the Lamb Between the Lakes up in Wisconsin. Like, there's a lot of different famous examples of dogmen, and it's highly believed they're just a species we never knew existed until, I mean, the 60s, 70s when they first started coming to the name. Like the Beast of Bray Road was like one of the first ones, and
Okay.
then in the last 10 years, I'd say they became the new Bigfoot.
Okay.
People are fascinated by them. So, I mean, something to look into for your show, 100%, if you can find someone who actually had experience, because
Yeah.
good luck. People who had experiences don't like talking about it.
Yeah.
The closest I got was an author who had experience as a kid, and he didn't know what to describe it as. And I was like, that's 150% of fucking dogma sighting.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And especially having that experience as a kid and just carrying it with you your whole life. You know what I mean? And then finally figure
Well,
out what it is.
yeah. Hey, Nicole, thank you for
Hey,
watching,
Nicole.
as always. But, I mean, he described it as he was down playing by a swamp at like a cemetery in the woods, and he heard something moving around. So eventually, he got on his bike and started riding away. And then when he turned back to look, there was something that was on all fours, then stood up against a grave on the two, and started walking around two legs. And I'm like, and he said like he heard like you know weird sounds. And I'm like, you just 100%, you 100% had a dogman sighting. I
Mhm.
had not a doubt of, I had not 1 ounce of doubt in my mind of that. Like, you had a dogman sighting when you were a child,
Yeah.
and as terrifying as it may have been, it's fucking amazing because
Yeah.
I kind of I want to see a dogman.
Yeah.
I do and I don't,
Yeah.
because there's one type that basically looks like a muscular dog standing up,
Okay.
and they're not friendly. Type B,
Okay.
they're not friendly. They're not friendly at all. They're very very territorial, and they'll kill humans without a moment's notice.
Okay.
You won't even know what happened. You'll just be gone. But
Okay.
type A, yeah, they act more like typical dogs, but they stand on two legs,
Okay.
and like they are territorial, but they're not aggressive.
Okay.
They'll
Oh my
try to
gosh.
scare you.
I need to do some research.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I'm happy I could teach you something, and that you'll have something to look into. I freaking love
Oh
that.
yeah.
I try to teach everybody about dogmen if they don't know about it, because it's just one of the most fascinating topics in the paranormal nowadays, and
Wow.
it's so unknown still, and it amazes me because there's sightings everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody should hear about it at some point, but no, they don't. I mean, everybody knows about werewolves. I hate that fucking name, but werewolves, yeah, everybody knows about them. But nobody knows about dogmen. I just don't get it. Like, dogmen actually exist. There's thousands of sightings out there. Like, Jesus Christ. But it just, I don't get it. But,
It'll happen.
I mean, I do not doubt that the government knows they exist. I do
Okay.
not doubt the government. I do not doubt the government tried to capture already and try to use it in military purposes.
Okay.
I don't freaking doubt it. But
Yeah.
do I have proof of this? Of course not, because
Yeah.
the government's good. The government's good at what they do.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, we are shit. It's already been an hour almost. My God, fun conversation. I told you this conversation was gonna be fun, but I guess to end it off, I'll ask you this question as good, give my listeners some good advice, because Lord knows they don't get it from me that often. But how, if somebody wants to have a sign from the universe, sign from God, sign from wherever they believe in the Creator is, what should they look for, and how should they be receptive to it to make it actually work?
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's a difficult question, right? Because I think the signs and the messages are going to be different for different people depending on what you are open to or what you're willing to kind of see or notice. And so I think one of the first things is you have to open yourself up to that possibility. A lot of people are too stressed, too busy, working too much, too distracted, and just trying to survive in our world to kind of, take the time to breathe and just be open and say, hey, I'm ready to co-create, or hey, I'm ready to open myself to a conversation with the universe. Because really, those signs, those synchronicities, they're just the universe trying to get your attention and say, we want to work with you, or there's the possibility of collaboration, or there's a possibility for great beauty in your life, or an intentional life, if you can open up and kind of open your heart, your mind to the possibility of working with us. So I think the signs are going to be different for everybody. Sometimes they're overt, sometimes they're more subtle. So you have to be ready for anything. But first thing you have to do is be willing to be open to it, be willing to see, be willing to notice. And that takes some patience, and it takes some dedication. And it also takes belief that this world wants to work with us and co-create with us and have synchronicity. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question at all. I hope it did.
I mean, it does, because it basically says, look for the signs and keep an open mind. I mean, which are the two, I would say, biggest things you should do if you're looking for a sign from anything, is those two right there. And the universe works in mysterious ways. God works in mysterious ways. However you want to phrase it. There are gods that have existed and that exist. I don't like the word God because there's more than one. But I mean, I call myself a god sometimes. I'm a little bit like that. But I mean, my wife calls me a god sometimes too. It just happens like that. But it's just, I mean, there's signs from this universe, and you have to listen sometimes. What can I say?
Yeah.
But I do want to thank you for coming on, Kirsten. It's been a fun fucking episode. I got to teach you something. We got to talk about Bigfoot and signs of the universe. It's been a fun fucking episode. Yay! And my listeners will freaking love this when it goes in podcast form. But where can they find you? Where can they find your podcast and everything you do? Is please promote yourself to the fullest.
Oh, yeah. So my podcast is called Byte Sized Blessings, and it's BYTE. And I basically ask everyone under the sun, religious, a-religious, atheist, whoever you are, the main question is, have you ever witnessed or experienced something magical or miraculous? And I've had everything under the sun, every story that you could ever imagine. But you can find me and find a list of some of my guests, find my other creative projects, my book series that I'm doing, my animated series on YouTube. You can find it at my website, bytesizedblessings.com. And it's BYTE, because that's my homage to my scientific love of the world, my love of science. So yeah, I'm trying to marry science and religion, or science and spirituality in my podcast. I don't know if I'm even doing it, but I'm trying. And so yeah, Byte-Sized Blessings.
Well, there you go, folks. She's trying to do something that the freaking back has been trying to do for hundreds of years and they can't do. But and please go check out Byte Sized Blessings. Sounds like a fun podcast. You ever need a guest? I'm always down for a fun conversation. And you in the hosting seat. I don't know if I should be scared or worried or what, but I'd freaking love to do. I'd love to put up with it once. But all my listeners and watchers, you know where you can find me. If you don't, then kill us all now, aliens. Fuck. But shame. It's in the outro for all the listeners, and it's in the freaking banner going across the screen for all the watchers. If you don't know by now, then you're not paying attention, and boo. But I will be back on Thursday. Actually, no, not Thursday. I'm sorry. I'll be back on Wednesday with another paranormal interview for you all. And then I'm taking Thursday off because it's a holiday. I want to light some fireworks, possibly lose a finger, I should say. But let's have some fun with it. And it's a holiday. I got things to do with my kids. I don't want to be here podcasting. So, but be sure to check out that episode on Wednesday. And coming up, folks, I haven't announced this yet on a regular episode of this show, but coming up on July 27th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to look at my calendar right now, but I think I'm right. All right, fuck, I'm looking at my calendar because I don't like to be wrong. I'm a man. Forgive me. But, yeah, July 27th. It's been a long time since we had a movie bracket on this show. And our next horror movie bracket is coming up on the 27th. That's going to be the top 50 serial killer movies of all time bracket. I have watched 40 something fucking movies here, folks, so it's going to be interesting. But join me and my usual guests, plus maybe a couple of surprises, as we go through 50 movies, and I'm sure it's going to be a 3 to 4 hour fucking experience. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night. We'll go into the next day, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how people feel about these movies. Some of them are old, some of them are new, some of them are in between. We'll see. And it's been a long time coming. I'm just waiting for. I'm excited for a new list of movies after this because I'm out of movies to watch. So come check it out, folks. It's coming. By the time this actually releases in podcast form, we already recorded that probably. But go back and watch the video on YouTube or whatever. You know, have some fun with it. Thank you to our guest Kirsten for coming on because it's been a fun time. And see you in a couple of days. Be sure to check out Maniacal Musings tomorrow night if you miss me too much. I mean, how could you not? Come on. You can find me on Facebook as Jeremy Bryant, or you can find me as Uncensored, Unapologetic, and Untamed UQ Podcast Collective Facebook group. You can find me on Twitter and the Instagram as @JuggaloBastard, or should I say X now. And you can find me on TikTok as @JuggaloBastard Podcast. You can also find me on YouTube as Paranormal The New Normal. And you can also find me streaming on YouTube as Blind Knowledge Network, because all knowledge is blind until they admit Bigfoot exists.